welcome to UXD Talks, and today it's going to be a very interesting topic. It is touching every UX designer or designer even. And every time we get this questions asked in our organization, we are talking about ROIs and everything. So today we are going to discuss. Shubhangi is going to present us the maturity level of UX in an organization, and it is maturity level of UX is quite responsible for delivering consistent ROI for businesses. So today we have Shubhangi Shekhar, who's going to talk about UX strategy in our organization. And she is a UX designer herself in Video Business Solution. It is a SAP company. And besides that, she's been evangelizing UX management, and she talks about agile UX delivery. So it's over to Shubhangi now. She can take over. Welcome, Shubhangi.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Parul, for the introduction.
Yeah, so guys, we are going to keep this session quite interactive. You can drop in your questions whenever you feel like, and you can keep it interactive. If you have any question or if you want to speak out also, you can please drop a message in chat box. Okay, so over to Shubhangi.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Parul. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Not yet.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it is, Shubhangi.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So, cool. Welcome, everyone. For those of you who know me, well and good, welcome. For those of you who don't, I am Shubhangi Shekhar, and I work for an SAP partner company called New Business Solutions. We work mostly with public sector. So that ways we are more indulged in governments, and also we work a lot with other companies and other domains such as digital supply chain and everything. So here we are more focused on the experience part and more focused on the management part. So this presentation is based on my understanding and it's based on my education, because UX strategy is one thing which is unique to every organization. So we'll have UX strategy which you can take in your own specific direction. So this will give you a starting point, as in where to start and how to think and what to do and everything. So I just want to know everybody of you. So let's start this session with you telling me what is your role. You'll find a polling link in the chat box. So let us start this session with your current role.
Guys, you can click on the link.
Okay, I see some of the results coming up. Let's see. Amazing.
Wow.
Awesome. We have a lot of students here as well. I'll wait till 4:14. At exactly 4:14, I'll switch back to my presentation again. Awesome. So we have a lot of senior UXers, we have business analysts, we have directors. Amazing. Great. So I think this is pretty much it. Mostly we have UX designers. That's very good. Welcome everyone. We have freelancers, we have graphic designers, digital consultants, BAs, everything. People, I just want to tell you that, when we talk about UX strategy, UX management, anybody can hop in. Basically, it's business. It's more of business than UX. So I'm glad that we have people of multiple fields and domains. We can always share our views and everything. So let me just go back to my presentation. I'll talk about the agenda first. We'll cover the basics of UX strategy. I won't dive deep inside because we have a lot of templates. We have a lot of how to get started, so many techniques and everything. I just want to give you a basic thinking paradigm, I would say. So let's start with basics of UX strategy. We'll have live polls like the first one coming up. We have 3 more polls to go. We'll have expert panel at the very end. We'll have where we have Strayan and Saha. Hi, both of you. We can discuss how things are working and how strategy and management is taking place in mature organizations. We'll have questions and answers simultaneously. So whenever you want me to go slow, whenever you want me to ask any question, whenever you want me to repeat something, you can just simply put in the comment section. Parul will let me know and I can repeat it. I'll answer your questions and everything. We also have a special guest for this. I won't tell you who he is, but please tune in for the special guest. So he'll just hop into our webinar exactly around 5. We also have very useful templates. So we'll be giving those templates for you, wherein you can have UX strategy applied in your organization, and it'll really, really help you. And we will send it to you through mails, or we'll have it. We will give it to you by the end of this webinar. So just let's get started. So what is UX strategy? Now, this is a very basic question. When we talk about UX strategy, I would start by giving you an intersection. UX strategy is nothing but it lies at the intersection of the human elements of your organization, the desired outcomes of your organization, and the informational elements. Now, human elements will comprise of everyone, be it stakeholders, developers, engineers, designers, everyone. You'll have your own desired outcomes. If you're working for a service company, your desired outcomes would be different. If you're a product designer, your desired outcomes would be different. If you're just working for like visual things, your desired outcomes would be different. So we'll basically focus on functionality, features, design criteria. It could be success matrix, anything. Now, we also have informational elements, such as what is the existing data that your company already has. Whenever you do user interviews, what are the pain points that your users have? What are the competing product research? So market is really, really important for UX strategy. If you don't know what is going around in the world, in the market, so you're actually lacking. So that thing, and customer feedback, obviously, when somebody interacts with your service, when somebody interacts with your product, so you should basically be well aware about the customer feedback. So these are basically the 3 elements of UX strategy, which comprises UX strategy, which are human elements, desired outcomes, and informational elements. Now, what is UX strategy? These were the elements that comprise of UX strategy. UX strategy is considered as a product, service, redesign vision, and planning, as well as complex changes in an organization itself. So UX strategy, when we think of it, we always think, okay, I think it's a strategy of something, but no, it's basically a cultural mind shift. So a mind shift is required where there is no UX values, or where there is no design prioritization. So there this happens, and this is basically you change the cultural mindset of your organization. So many authors also see it as a work group that enhances design infrastructure all over the company. So when we talk about design infrastructure, we have the perfect team leads. We have perfect tools that we require. We are done with the methodologies that we need, because again, it's unique for every organization. UX management, UX strategy, both of them are unique to every organization. If I am based out of a startup, I might not need so many levels of UXers or UX leads or UX managers. I might work with only 2 UX people. For me, I talk about a mature organization. If I don't focus on service design, I might find, I might not find employee retention happening that. I will have to focus on my product redesign. So basically, these are the few things that comprises of UX strategy. Now, if we hop into details, we'll see what are the metrics that comprises of UX strategy. So the very first thing is, how is your company approaching to manage design on all levels? Now, there could be various levels in an organization, starting from really developers. Then you have leads, you have managers, you have vertical heads, and then you have the management team. So you have a lot of levels in the organization. How you approach to manage design on all levels, that is the first area that UX strategy comprises of. Second is, you should define each role in great detail. So when I say you should define each role in great detail, I mean that if you have a user researcher, make sure you don't make him do code. He's not supposed to do code. He's a user researcher. So you should be clear with what roles your organization is hiring and what work they are doing. If you are an UX designer, it's your responsibility to enhance the experience of users. It's not your responsibility to basically check the changes in HTML or something. You are really focused on creating experiences that are valuable to your customers. So basically, defining each role in great detail. You should have a UX research team structure. When I say UX research team structure, that means you are really emphasized on getting user details, user needs, their pain points really well. You have your product redesign and how the design team measures enhancements. So there is one thing as starting the product from scratch, and one thing is your product is already in the market. So you have to give the metrics as to how you are accessing and how you are checking on the enhancements. Now, the last very important factor is KPIs, CBAs, and monthly metrics reviews. So your KPIs are nothing but key performance indicators, which are used to measure your company's performance or success matrix. And CBAs are, again, if you're putting some cost, you should know how to do the benefit analysis. If I'm putting $5 to something, I should know what is the benefit that will happen to me. Otherwise, I won't put that much of cost. So when you're managing UX, you should be well aware of the cost benefit analysis. Now, monthly metrics review is one thing which I personally like. After 1 month is gone, you should review all your design, all your things that are happening, and you should see what is the monthly progress that you've made, where you should work more and everything. So these are some of the areas in the metrics that the UX strategy has. Now, if I dive into UX maturity that organizations have, you have to focus on it real good. And because I'll have one upcoming question, so we'll just try to understand what is UX maturity. UX maturity is, there are a lot of templates you'll find, there are a lot of illustrations, images you'll find. I really relate to this one. So I really prefer this one, wherein it's divided in 5 scales, wherein first is inception, whereas there is absence of UX. There is no UX at all. You have just they do coding or something. You don't really focus on user research or usability or other metrics such as accessibility and something. So inception is where there is absence of UX. Second is awareness, wherein you're stepping into phase 1, wherein you are telling people, okay, let's assume UX as aesthetics. Let's make the devices pleasing. Let's make our product more engaging. That is when UX as aesthetics come into picture. So there, usability testing is one thing which really works. When you do usability testing, people or student who don't know what is usability testing is nothing but when you are basically sitting in front of your customers and you give him your product or your service and you evaluate how he is basically using it. So the usable part of your product is done through usability testing. And when we can actually derive a lot of deeper insights through usability testing, and we can make awareness into our organization through UX as aesthetics. Now, when we dive into part 3, your company is actually adopting UX now. UX has been adopted as a process. We are quantifying UX. So we are not, I won't say we are maturing UX, we are quantifying UX. When we hop into scale 4, we are now maturing UX. UX is informing product strategy. Your product strategy is not informing UX, but UX is informing product strategy. That means that user experience insights will inform the product strategy in a particular direction, and it will help the managers take the right decisions. So here you are actually correlating your key performance indicators, that okay, we are doing this is giving us success, let us do more on this stage, rather than redoing everything that is already recorded. We will be doing things here based on our customers' inputs. Now, the most mature organizations are said to be integrated ones, where UX is part of a global strategy. Now, when I say UX is part of a global strategy, that means that they have their design roles, their design leads, the levels, recruitments, everything as a part of global strategy. So they are basically value reinforcement is done through business performance. How your business is performing, you take out the value from it, and then you make your decisions and inform your decisions. So UX is a part of your global strategy. That is what is integrated. Now, if anybody has any questions, you can just ask me right now, because I want to understand what was your basic understanding of this. You understood there were 5 scales: inception, awareness, adopting, maturing, and integrated. So you can ask me any questions if you have any doubts. And yes.
So this is by Anshul Shabra.
Okay.
He's asking what is the ROI of UX?
What is the ROI of UX? Okay. So this is a very good question. ROI of UX. I would just sorry, Parul, you were saying something?
No, you go.
Yeah. Okay. So ROI of UX is a real good topic. When we talk about ROI, at the end of the day, everything is business. Nobody would like to involve or invest a lot of resources, and then if you get nothing, it's of no value. So when we talk about ROI, first thing that your customer satisfaction increases to a great level. Your customers are satisfied. Second is employee retention, which is really, because when you have UX as a part of global strategy, you will really focus on employee experience. When you're focusing on employee experience, when employees are happy, you would be able to retain them. They won't leave your organization. So that is a great ROI of that. Third thing is your maintenance and support costs drops a lot. If you deliver an experience while going through every phase of UX, if you are focusing on your customers in their needs and their pain points, you don't have to spend a lot on maintenance or support. So your maintenance and support cost reduces. Fourth point is your development cost reduces, because if developers directly start developing and there's no design finalization and everything, so the developers would be like, okay, we are doing the rework again and again, and it's said that investing $1 in UX would give you $100 in return. Why? Because in design phase, I might take only 10 minutes to change a prototype, but a developer would take 2 days to change the entire code. That is why we do design. So that is how we reduce the development cost. Again, one another important point is we reduced the time by we save a lot of time, because when we are focused on UX research, UX design, the prototypes, usability, not only we are enhancing customer satisfaction, but we are actually reducing time on our maintenance or on development. So this is basically a great ROI. We also see a huge amount of stock index changes. I won't go into details on that, but these are the ROI which you will see. I hope it answers your question. Is there any
Yeah,
other
we have
question,
one more.
Parul?
Yeah, we have from Manikandan Balaji. He's asking what can we do in enterprise UX? Um,
What can we do in enterprise UX? Manikandan, I will answer your question later in the section when I'm talking about enterprise UX.
okay, so we have one more question by
Yeah.
Kavita. She's asking what kind of testing is
Okay.
done at the maturity stage.
What kind of?
Testing is done at the maturity stage.
Okay. What kind of testing is done at the maturity stage? When UX is a part of a global strategy, and when we are really focused on integrated. Sorry, Parul, you were saying something?
No, no, no. You go ahead.
Okay. So this is basically when we're talking about integrated global strategy, what kind of testing do we do? Usability testing is really rigorous at this stage. I feel that when we do usability reports, they are really they are just reports, or just you interact with one person and it's done. But when we talk about at a higher stage, the usability testing is really rigorous. We do a lot of this is basically out of my some people might disagree with this, or some people might have their own experiences to share. This is based on my experiences, my education. So I would say the usability testing is really rigorous. We not only have participants, they which count to 2 to 5. We have a lot of participants. We see them in their live examples. We go on site. We don't connect with them over chat or something, because that way we won't be really testing how they are actually feeling. Or sometimes when we are really sitting in front of them, they might get confused or something. So that is why we should be rigorous, but in same time you should make them comfortable. So we do it on site, live, in their own environment, in their own natural setting. That is how I will say it. Okay, I have a question for you all. Again, Parul will drop this question.
1 minute, Shubhangi. We have one more question, one last question.
Okay,
It's
tell
by
me.
Juhi Khare. She's asking how can we start introducing UX in an organization? I think this question is by
This
every
question is
lot of people.
super relatable. This is very much needed also. Again, Juhi, I think I will answer this thing. I have another scenario for this thing, so I will answer your question again that time. So just spare me 10 minutes. I will just drop onto the another section and I will answer you. Surely I will answer you. Parul, if you can share the link in the chat box. I want you to I want you guys to understand where does your organization lies in terms of UX maturity on the scale of 1 to 5. I just told you about 5 scenarios that were inception, awareness, adopting, maturing, and integrated. I have made MCQs as of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can just hop on there and just let me know where is your organization at UX maturity. Okay, great. Most of you, I think, are at mature level. Okay, it's changing. Let's see. I will wait till 4:34 for the same. Okay, great. I think many of you come from a really mature organization. That makes a talk really interactive now. I'm curious to know. Mm-hmm. Okay, a lot of percentage of people say that they are at UX as aesthetics, and 11% of people say that they don't have any UX. It's at inception stage. Okay. Okay, great. It's 1 minute left.
Guys, please click on the link to answer. There are only 28 people who have answered. More people can, really answer. We have 57 people in the room.
Okay, great. So I think everybody of you have answered. You can just hop into the chat box. Please answer. This is for you. Great. We are having some more. I'm just trying to understand what is your organization doing in terms of UX maturity, so that I can, deliver the more out of it. Okay, great. Then I think I should hop back to my presentation. And okay, great. So a lot of people said that they come from a very mature organization, I believe. That is really cool. Now, I will answer Manikandan's question over here. So we'll talk about UX management divisions in this, where we'll talk about what are the levels where UX management is done exactly. So if you talk about UX management, the first thing that we have is organizational UX. So when I talk about organizational UX, it's nothing but UX being part as a global strategy, and everything that I've listed down will come under that only. Organizational UX. So organizational UX, you have an entire team dedicated to UX, and your organization is highly focused on spending money, costing. You have sponsors and everything. So that comprises of organizational UX. Second thing is enterprise UX, which Manikandan asked that what is enterprise UX? So enterprise UX is nothing but evangelizing employee experience. Like I said, UX is not only limited to, UX is nothing but experience for users. You are creating experience for users through your product. So through your product or through your portals, or even if you're for websites or something, enterprise UX basically focuses on your on employees. So you are creating tools, you have created applications through which your employee processes, such as, if you have reimbursement processes, if you have travel processes, if you have timesheet, you can create tools, you can create applications which will come under enterprise UX. So you are creating in this, HR people really work closely with you so that they deliver experiences that are really highly valuable to your employees. So that is how you retain your employees. This is one of the major ROI of UX. Next thing is product UX. We all know when we have a new product in the market, or if in case we already have a product, so we can go with product UX. Service UX is one of my favorite topics, which I'm really interested into nowadays. Service UX, we have a new course on IDF as well for service user experience design. So service design is nothing but when you are creating experiences through your services. So be it selling services, be it your Starbucks or your they create services in the market. So I'm just taking example. This is service UX. Everything comes to your organization. This is what happens. Then is your roles and responsibilities. When you're talking about UX management, this is one area I really focus on, because in many organizations, even in mature organizations, you see a UX researcher would be doing some of the design work, or a UX usability person would be doing some of the CSS. This doesn't make any sense. You should be really clear about your roles and responsibilities. The next thing is team coordination and hiring. So when you are going for hiring as a UX manager or as a UX lead, you should be really up well with the things that are happening in the market, and what sort of people are working at mature organizations such as Google, Microsoft, or Apple. So they are really focused on hiring. They do, design exercises. They see if I am recruiting a UX researcher, he should be really empathetic. So that should be the focus. Another thing is brand interaction. Now, brand interaction, I put it here because I feel that when we are doing the above things, we are actually creating a customer experience which delights our customers. So we are actually creating a brand interaction which not only makes our brand stand out in the market, but it makes us really credible. That okay, these people are really dedicated to the users. They don't just care about their own profit, their own business, but they want to deliver experiences to the users that really matters to them in the areas that really matters to them. So it is really important. Now, many of the people who are from Interaction Design Foundation might know who Frank Spillers is. Frank Spillers is the mentor and he's the CEO of Experience Dynamics. When he saw my post, he has sent one message, which I'll show it to you. So he has said that, hey, Shubhangi, here's a quote for your webinar. UX management is a cultural problem. Culture includes rules. All rules should be adjusted with new rules, new patterns, new processes, and fresh thinking. I would just hop into how you can have a fresh thinking in your organization. Work with your people internally, educate and make a strong case for your user research. So basically, what is more important than doing UX activities is basically educating other people about UX and evangelizing UX as a definition, role as a purpose. So start with small victories. Even if you have small victories, even if you are able to convince 2 people in the organization, if you are able to make your 4 customers happy, that's more than enough. So you should start with small victories. Change minds inside by bringing customer stories, problems, and pains to your design decision process. This is what Frank said. Thank you so much, Frank. If you're watching this, I am really glad that you gave your comment for this. So Frank said that we should have a fresh thinking in our organization. According to me, I don't think that apart from design thinking, anything pushes you towards fresh mind or fresh thinking. So here's a quick video which I'll play, which shows the importance of design thinking in UX.
During our first ever Sprint conference hosted at Google in November 2017, we brought together 100 experts and practitioners in the field of design thinking and innovation to share methods and explore the various ways design thinking is being adopted in organizations to spread a culture of innovation.
The process around design thinking is pretty clear, but the adoption of the process is much more non-linear, make it up as you go along kind of process. And so there's 2 things we value. One is the slow moving of the granite wall, because most of design thinking is about changing the mindset and culture over time, and that's not something you can do in a 5-day sprint. You can start it. So there's this slow moving of the granite wall, and then there's this sort of idea of shiny objects that keep the ball keep moving. And so there's those 2 balance of those 2 things.
I think the part around kind of continuing to push for a culture of innovation, and that's something that you can never just be done with. It's something you'll always have to actively pursue, and kind of trying to spread that idea across the organization. I think the biggest takeaway for me was there was a quote he showed: no one cares about design speak, they care about results, they care about the outcomes. So kind of trying to take that back to the company and make sure that across the design org, we're not alienating people by using designer speak or designer words that people don't understand.
People are often interested to learn, and you show them and they're like, wow, that's great. But sometimes it's companies and corporates that are a bit more skeptical. So we do a similar version of a short workshop with them, which we're doing at the conference here today, that really takes people through some of the key steps. And we often go into companies actually and come and bring them lunch and do a little workshop over lunch, and then have a chat with them about how that felt and how it can impact their company. We're not secretive about any of our methods, and we even actually train other agencies and consultants to facilitate sprints in the same way that we do.
I think it was really interesting seeing how they involved different people throughout the organization, and got people from the leadership involved in the thinking sessions to come up with solutions.
The design thinking sprint toolkit gives you a bunch of different methods. Most of this is listening loudly to where people are and the process, and then either giving them a pen or a post-it or having them draw on a whiteboard. And so taking all of the process away and just focusing on that one particular moment and then going out from there. So once they've figured out that, you know, they're actually not a bad sketcher, then you can get them to have a different conversation the next time. And eventually you end up in a place where they'll run a whole design sprint, or they'll run a whole project. Helping them visualize what their problems are enables a better conversation, and all the rest of the design speak goes away.
My philosophy, like wherever I work, is to design myself out of that position. And that's kind of building real sustainability. And so I'm at the City of Oakland, like I want my position to disappear in like a few years' time, because that would be a way for me to know if I did my job right, which means that there's sprint masters and design thinkers embedded in every level of government, and my job is no longer needed. That's the ultimate success.
Okay, so basically, if you see in this video, these are, you know, the design leaders, these are design managers and design thinkers who, you know, they really value the importance of design thinking, as it, you know, as it nurtures your creativity. So even if you guys, you know, if you see you have town halls happening in your organizations and everything, you can have your design thinking, you know, sprints over there. You can make your you can make the culture of your organization really productive through design thinking. That is what I feel, and that is what is my, you know, suggestion, that, you know, you should evangelize design thinking as much as possible. That is the real key. So I spoke a lot about these things. Now, why do we actually need a strategy? You said, okay, organizations do this, these are the things, okay, ROI and everything is cool. But if you talk about ROI, we have actually derived it through this thing. So we need UX strategy to keep up with the user behavioral patterns. That is the very most important factor, I would say, because, you know, users, you are not like your parents were, you know, you changed. So even after 5 days or even after, you know, 6 months of learning, you will change as a person. So user behavior keeps on changing, and you have to be really adaptive towards that. That is why you need a strategic UX design. You don't want to dive simply into, okay, we'll just make aesthetically pleasing designs, and you should have a strategy in mind. How should you target users which are really you changing in behaviors, and, you know, who are really evolving. So as technology also transforms and improves, okay, technology transforms. We used to use Corel Draw, Photoshop at that time. Now you're using Adobe XD, Figma, you know, and like the tools keep evolving, like the technology keeps evolving, your strategy should also keep evolving. Okay, the managers would fix this into their strategy, that now we will use these much of tools. Okay, this tool came into the market, I think this really works, this methodology might work for us. So you have to be you have to create a very evolving UX strategy. So now to align different product teams around a shared product vision, one company such as Google, where there are a lot of products, such as, you know, they have Google Maps or Gmail or something, and etc. So and whatnot, like they have a lot of products. So to align different product teams in a shared vision, they should have a shared vision. These are some of the qualities which I believe that a design manager should have to take the whole teams and people together. So because we don't have consistency across UX touch points, so you should always be you should always check about the UX touch points. You should make a matrix. You should see what are the pain points. Okay, I think I should redesign this scenario. That is how it works, and that is where UX strategy comes into picture. To ensure that you have a plan to measure your success and yes to your failures. You should always be accepting to your failures. That okay, I fail. If I failed in this thing, I should have a strategy on how do I do so that I don't see this happening twice, or this should not happen with me again. So you should ensure that you measure your success. For that, you should measure your you should have your matrix according. like again I am saying, UX metrics is something which is unique to every organization. For my organization, probably I won't dive into something such as product metrics, but I would be more focused on service design, or I would be more focused on the experience part. So it is unique to every organization. Now, Parul, is there any question?
Yeah, we have one question, Shubhangi,
Okay.
which was asked a little earlier. It is by Aditya. He's asking, being new to UX, how do I get started with it?
This is
This is very
again
question
the same question which we asked. I will come to that part, how to get started in 3 steps. I will show you the templates. I will show you how to pitch the management and everything. I will talk about it. So before hopping into the next section, which is how to get started, let me understand at which level and where do you find the UX implementation most difficult. I talked about enterprise UX. I talked about coordination between teams, recruitment. Parul will be dropping a polling link in the comment section. So do click on it, fill it. I want to know at which level are you guys finding, so that I will focus on that aspect real good. Let me see.
Please click on the link to answer Shubhangi's question.
I will wait till 5 minutes. At 4:55, I'll hop back to my presentation. Okay, great. I hope you understand what this is.
Guys, you will find a link in the chat section. Please click on the link to answer this question.
Okay, I think most of you are saying coordination among teams. I agree. That is a problem that can happen. Okay, it's changing. Coordination among teams is a big problem. Okay, I understand. I have a real cool template for that. How you can manage, how you can structure it.
Please answer the question, guys, because to understand this presentation further, we need to really understand what our audience are today. There's one question also coming, Shubhangi. Should I ask now? So this is by Ishant Suneja.
Yeah,
Is
tell
asking
me.
if
Go
possible,
ahead, Parul.
can you share some ideas on how to crack UX design interviews?
For it, if UX in interview, I
Yes.
can.
Yeah, Ishant.
Yeah, we can have another session. If you guys are willing, we can have another session.
So I'll be posting UXD talks links at the end. You just just tune in to our keep yourself updated with the links. We'll be posting another session, and you'll probably try to get this how to crack design interviews.
UX interviews are
Maybe how to design your portfolio, something like that. We're going to have a session soon. So tune in to us.
We'll have, yeah. For the interviews, for now, I would just stick to your portfolio, stick to the process rather than tools or something. Stick to the process, your methodology, and everything. You should be well aware with that. For this, we'll have another separate session for you. Don't worry, and we'll just explain it everything in detail.
So can we have quick answers to this? Only 27 have responded. Now we have around 60 people in the room. Wow. So please, guys,
Okay, we have 60 people in the room,
it's not a
guys.
difficult question. It's not a difficult question. You can go ahead. Even if you don't have the culture in your company, then even then you can answer so that, Shubhangi can understand what the audience is. Uh, what are you guys suffering actually?
Exactly. Okay, only 27 people have answered. Guys, click on the link, submit it. I'll wait for 1 more minute and then I think I'll hop back to my presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just 2 more seconds and then let's continue further. Shubhangi, meanwhile, you can answer one more question, please. This is by Akash Yadav. He's asking, what are some examples of great UX at the cost of better UI?
Sorry?
So she wants to know some examples of great UX at the
Shubhangi?
cost of better UI.
Yeah.
Shubhangi? Yeah, Puneet is there.
Okay.
Okay.
So our guest speaker is here, guys. I will just hop into the same. Okay. Hi, Puneet.
Hi, Puneet.
Hi, Puneet, you're on, I guess.
Yeah. Welcome to UXG Talks, Puneet. Shubhangi, you can answer the question later.
Yeah, sure. So, hi guys. Most of you might know. Most of you know who Puneet is. So we are really, glad that Puneet has joined us for now. He has joined us. We'll just ask him a few questions so that we get real insights about the organizations and how strategy is taking place and how what is his approach basically. So, welcome, Puneet. You are on mute. Are you on mute?
Yeah, I am on mute. Such a common problem these days.
No problem. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, real good. So people have tuned in to, wait for you to see who the guest speaker was.
Okay.
So guys, if you have any question, for Puneet, you can also drop it in chat. I will be asking you some questions, Puneet. The first question that I personally wanted to know was, in your complete UX journey till now, what do you think were the things that were, that were lacking in UX as a part of global strategy that you felt?
The first thing that I felt on just an organizational level always was leadership. Being a leader in
Okay.
design as well. One thing that I've noticed all across various organizations is we oftentimes we take ownership so seriously that we forget there's a leader who exists who needs to kind of connect the team members with not only, and since we're talking about strategy, we need to connect team members with other team members. It could be the product team, it could be the business development team, it could be the actual tech team who is developing the.
Puneet, I just had a live poll in here, and if you see, they told and many people said around 60% of the people said that they have problem in coordination between teams, and that is I also feel that this is
Exactly.
an issue.
And I'll tell you why that happens is because a lot of leaders forget that they have a responsibility towards their teams as well. When they reach that managerial level, they're more about the corporate side of things than the actual team side of things. And I feel that is something which is lacking, and that is something that needs to be taught more. I think it's not their fault. I think it's more needs to be taught more. We go to management schools, we go to design schools, but we forget that leadership is not it can't be put into a book.
True. So this is one of the problem that that most of the designers face in many organizations. So so what do you think is the most important aspect? Because this is a talk on a coherent UX strategy. What is the most important aspect of a coherent UX strategy? When you say
The most important part of if we're talking about coherency, I think it's very important to from day one, if you're planning on, say, bringing certain changes on board with a certain product that you're creating, or you're trying to create a new product from scratch. The only method of creating a coherent not only a strategy but also a coherent workplace is to make sure that you are depending less on what other people are telling you, and you're going out and gathering as much information as you can. I see this is a huge problem is with a lot of designers. This happens. We start making something, we start creating something, but when we're, say for example, we're creating a landing page of a certain product, and we want the landing page to communicate some things. So we generally talk to a lot of times we talk to the product, the product fellows, the product managers, but we forget there's another part of UX strategy, which is the development part of it. So sometimes it's a lot of the links are missing. Sometimes we focus on the product side of things too much, and then we forget about the development side. How many times has it happened that you've created something, but the dev team has said no to it? That is something which happens. I think 80% of the time is there has to be this Uber model of things has to exist. What I mean by saying Uber model is Uber does this in their organization is they design and develop at the same stage. They don't take it as two separate processes. They kind of take it as one coherent process, and making the process coherent itself is more important than looking at how you can create a better UX strategy, because I think the strategy part of it is fine, but the execution is where we're actually lacking with that.
Yeah, I agree. That happens actually, and what you are saying is absolutely right. Because even I feel that there should be a strategy which goes hand in hand with the dev team, research team, and design team. It should be hand in hand. Otherwise, one or the other would be left out. That is really cool. So, these are the questions I wanted to ask. Puneet, is there anything else that you want to add? I know you're busy and you took out your 5-10 minutes for us.
No, I think thank you for calling me on first. That's great. What I would like to add is, I want to give a message to all of y'all who's sitting in this room right now, watching us blabber away. What I want to communicate with everyone is we often forget why the why of everything, and let's just take some time out just without even thinking about UX strategy for a minute. We forget that why we started something. It could be our careers, it could be a strategy, it could be a business plan, it could be anything, and we forget the why aspect of everything, and we tend to move on to a path which is not in the long term is not something that is good neither for us or our organization. And I think if the why quotient is 100% clear all the time, I think UX strategy, design jobs, working in a corporate environment, everything I think will be at least 50% easier. Yeah, but this was
exactly. Thank you. I agree.
Welcome to UX Talks. It's great to have you here. So,
it's
guys,
great to be here.
Yeah, this is Puneet Chawla, and he's a famous YouTuber for UI. So I'll be sharing his YouTube link. We would like to learn more things about UI and UX from watching his YouTube video. So
That'll
here
be
I'm
great.
posting this link. You can go to his channel and get more insights about UI and UX. Thanks,
Yeah.
Puneet. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Parul. Appreciate
And
it.
yeah, so you can stay with us to hear
Thank
Shubhangi.
you.
She's
Sure.
really
I'll be in the background for sure.
she's doing really great.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you once again. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Vinay. Bye bye. Okay, so we had Puneet Chawla, guys, and you can just see this see his YouTube channel, and you can just learn a lot through the design essentials. Now I'll share my screen again, and I'll hop back to the presentation. Okay, let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see you now.
Okay, great. So now the questions that people were asking, how to get started.
Yeah.
So okay,
There
let's get started
there is
with
one
the 3 significant acts.
Shubhangi, there was one more question by Akash Yadav. He was asking, what are some examples of great UX at the cost of better UI? Examples of great UX at the cost of better UI.
Great UX. That is what, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
I believe he meant that where UI is not that good, but UX is super.
Okay, where UI is not good. Okay, so I don't know if I will be able to answer you, or if I will be able to show it to you. But there was one thing, there's you have seen timesheets. Probably most of the organizations employees fills timesheet for so there is one timesheet tool that I saw. It had if you believe me, it had just black and white text and screens, and it was just written, okay, enter this and this, but the features that were there, letting you in, it was from a very known company. I just don't want to name it because I don't know whether it will be allowed for me or what, but it was just in black and white, simple, no illustrations, nothing, no interactions. Like when you talk about great visual or great UI designs, you add motion designs, interactive or something, it should be there. There was nothing. It was just plain, but the experience that it provided, the features that it provided, like we could just fill in timesheets for a week rather than filling it one by one, or making you giving users a variety of ways, a variety of things. I personally am not a real fan of a very cool aesthetic UI. I am not. I am a fan of user experience and creating experience that are really valuable. I will show it to you. You can connect me on LinkedIn, and I can show you some of the examples. Not over here, but you can connect me with later. So okay, so I will get started with the 3 significant acts. I have there's one character, Annabella here, and this is her some of her questions, and I will just get started. The first thing, where do I start? Now, if you are you're talking about UX strategy and everything, so where should you start? The first thing is, if you are new to this, first is to evaluate the status of your UX as it stands. What is your user experience as it stands? By user experience, I am not talking about the user experience design. I am talking about user experience teams, your product, your service, your management levels, your the roles and responsibilities and everything. You should understand what is the status of your user experience as it stands. First thing. Second thing, you should have a vision on how you wish to improve your UX. Everybody have different visions. right? My vision could be just making my product is working real good and fine, but my vision could be, you know, how do I make it more engaging? How could I make it more interactive? That could be my vision. Or if my product is not doing well in the market, my vision could be how could I make it reach out to many people. So you should be clear with what is your vision first, because I told you UX strategy is nothing, you know, these templates, these pointers will just give you a direction to think. You don't have to just okay, this Shubhangi is saying this, we'll have to do it. No, you think of your own, because this is UX strategy is unique to every design, to every organization. So this is how. Third thing is, what is your anticipated gains from improving your UX? If you are trying to improve something, what do you think will you gain from doing that? Fourth and the very important thing, with whosoever follows Jared's pool, I don't know if you follow, Jared always talks about UX outcomes rather than, you know, company outcomes. So we always talk about UX metrics rather than the metrics like, you know, quality, product is good and something. We always talk about if our customer is happy or not. So a list of UX metrics that you'll measure the ROI of your UX activity. So whenever you're investing, you should be able to create one thing so that you can think, okay, whether this will give me enough returns or not. So that is one thing. Second is a plan of your team's workflow. Now, I remember when I gave the polls right now, most of you, and like Puneet also said, most of you feel these things, that there is no coordination happening amongst the teams and everything. You know, design operations is one thing which really fascinates me. And you know, how do I structure my team is one more thing. So here I have this template which can give you a good start. I wouldn't say it is you should just, you know, draw these things and everything, you should go by this, but this will really help you. I will just tell you what is this. This is the Design Ops Canvas beta. This is for structuring your team. So when you talk about your teams, you just don't talk about your teammates, you talk about all these stakeholders that are related to your product or your organization. So first and the foremost thing to know is, who are we? So there we'll have our teammates are there. We have our stakeholders. So who are we? Who are we looking for? How do we recruit people? How do we develop for our people? Who are our most valuable partners? What makes them successful, so that we can come up with a strategy which is more beneficial to them? How do we work with them? Should we go, if they don't like, you know, working with them off-site, should we visit them on-site? What should we do? What should, you know, you should first evaluate who are you. Then what support and resources do we have? Do you have any sponsors? Do you have any already existing tools in your organization? Do you need to purchase them? What resources and support do you have? Second thing is, what do we do? What is the value that we provide? What is the unique value proposition that we can deliver and our competitors won't be able to deliver? So what are our inputs? How do we work together? Shall we make more teams? Shall we work in only 3 teams? You know, shall we go like Puneet said, Uber design? Shall we go with hand-in-hand design and development, or shall we go with design then development? So this is basically purely your strategy canvas. You can think upon it, you can do it. What do you want to communicate? How do we educate and evangelize other people? How do we give feedback? How do we receive feedback? What is our mission? What are our goals? How are we structured? What is the common good that I want, my stakeholders want, and my client wants? If we are at a common single proposition, if we are talking about a common platform, this will really help us. This, you know, apart from this, the main thing which I feel about this canvas is what constrains us. So you should always be, you know, risk evaluation is one thing that I always talk about when I talk about UX strategy. Most people who are designers these days, they just start with designing. They don't evaluate, they don't make a strategic planning. What are the risks if they do it? For big organizations, you know, that is why they have levels of approvals, so that they know, okay, what is the constraints we have? What are the constraints? What are the risks that we have? So this template really helped me. This is one thing. Now, the second foremost question is, how should I do it? Now, how should I get started? First thing is, accessing the UX maturity? I guess you already have, because we discussed on UX maturity. I guess you have already accessed your organization's UX maturity. That is great. Second thing is you should identify the areas of implementation of UX. So it is not like I showed you. It is not, just the areas are not just your product. It could be employee experience. It could be design thinking. It could be co-innovation. It could be anything wherein you can have UX design, wherein you can have prototypes, you can have fresh thinking, you can have creative thinking. So you should identify the areas of implementation of UX. Now, one question came to me is, how do I start UX in my organization? That is a very good question. I relate to it very well. First thing is, you should pitch your management, whosoever is responsible. Now, when you're pitching your management, it's not, that you should just tell okay, these are the steps that I'll do in UX, this is the UX and everything. First and foremost thing is they are running a business. So the most important thing they care about is the ROI. So you should be well aware of the UX ROI in terms of your organization. Not everything that I listed down or not everything that other blogs lists will help you. You have to think that what is the best solution, what is the best strategy for your organization. So that is one thing. Now, pitching the management is you should talk to them in their language, not in designers' language. I feel today designers should be good business people, because if you can sell your design, that proves that okay, you can do anything. So that is one thing. Third is, this is all about, pitching the management. That is how you should start with it. So when you access UX maturity, you have identified areas of implementation. I think you can pitch the management right now. Now, third thing is the roadmap development, in which your stakeholders will help you. Roadmap development is nothing but how are you planning to go ahead with your UX strategy. Do you need a UX research team? Do you need a usability team? Do you need design thinkers in your organization? Or are you just good with UI designers? These are the things that helps you to create UX roadmap. Fourth thing is sponsors. If your organization is not spending enough on your UX, maybe you can ask your customers that, okay, we will deliver you a good UX design, a good amount of interaction design. Your interactions would be smooth, your experiences would be cool. Would you be would you be able to invest in us? So you should be well aware of your sponsors. The fourth very important thing is qualitative research. Qualitative research is you should be well aware of what are the expectations of your clients, stakeholders, employees, any person who is related to your organization. What are their expectations? What are their pain points? You should do a qualitative research analysis, and then you should act upon this. I hope this answers your question. In case you have any more questions, or if you want me to repeat something, you can just drop it in the chat box. This is one UX strategy guide from InVision Studio. I really like it. InVision gives it a lot of focus when you are preparing a UX strategy. Now, this strategy, this is just a start. You can just manipulate it according to your needs as well. So this UX strategy is basically, it will go with your anything, with your service, with your product, everything. So here what happens is you write down your problem. What business problem do you have? Right? Let us take an example of a product. Let's say I have a mobile application. So now I will analyze this strategy guide. I will use this strategy guide. Let's say I have an application. What is the problem that I'm focusing here? I will write the problem. Okay, my workplace is not that much into it is not providing me enough of the value in terms of meetings, in terms of everything. So that is my problem. I can write it over here. What are the differentiators? Now, differentiators is what will be different in your product as compared to other products in the market. If you want to sell something in the market, you have to list down your differentiators. Third thing is, what is the measurement metric? Now, how to track success? I won't say that, okay, if I have 100 downloads, my product is a success. No, I have to write down the full and fledged matrix, what my success matrix will be. Now, I will write who our users and customers will be, what will be the benefits that they'll have and user benefits. If I am taking any hypothesis, I will write it down there. What is the riskiest assumption? So that I write riskiest assumption over here so that I act least upon it. So I will write down riskiest assumption. I will write the challenges that are there. What are the challenges that I'm facing? Maybe if I write, I can help, and I can research more about it, and I can get and seek help from others. Now, when we do it, we will have a checklist of go and no go. So here is, did you survey each risk and assumption? Okay, yes, I did. So I will go with it. Did your survey results validate your ideas? Are they validating your ideas? Some of the times it has happened to me that when I'm using the strategy guide and when I'm writing, my assumptions and challenges are so much that I don't even start with that thing. That is how it happens. So that is, is your idea still valid? Sometimes it happens that your measurement is so much, your challenges are so high, and your benefits are so less that you ultimately choose to drop the idea. That is how it takes place. So this strategy guide will really help you. This has helped me. You can always change it according to your needs. Now, the third important thing is, on an organization level, I would say, how do you gain more insights? Now, here are some of the things I would say. First thing is, you can have usability testing, wherein, one thing I got asked was, what sort of testing do you do in organizations at higher level and everything? We really do rigorous usability testing. So when we do rigorous usability testing, we know what are the likes of the users, what are the dislikes, and what is missing. So, when we know the likes of somebody, we can actually build upon that. Okay, he really likes it. Let us build something related to it. He will like that again. So, usability testing and insights are really good for you. Second is, you can create personas and walls, so that you have a great idea about who your user and customer base is. You can always have journey mapping workshops. Journey maps are real good for service designs, for UX design, so that in the customer journey of entire product, where is the person actually feeling real pain points. What are the pain points? How can you redesign the areas and everything? Next is, UX informal brown bag session. These are really fun and cool. You can always talk with your, your session, your people, your, UX teammates and everything. You can have an informal session wherein you can talk, okay, what are the things, what is new in the market? How can we do something new and something? This is one thing. Next thing is design studios. Design studios are very much into picture nowadays. IBM, Deloitte, Accenture, every mature organization has their own design studios, wherein they work really on design ideas, new design ideas. They prototype, they have design sprints and everything. For design sprints, I prefer Google Design Sprint. You can have Google Design Sprint, which you can do in a 6-day workshop, or you can do in, these are really cool. You can do this inside your organization as well, or this is very helpful for co-innovation with your partners. So you do 6-day rigorous design sprints with, phase 1 or day 1 would be understanding their pain points, problems, researching. Phase 2 would be, defining the problems. Phase 3 would be sketching the ideas. Phase 4 will be building upon those ideas, deciding which idea is the best. Phase 5 will be prototyping, and phase 6 will be validating. So these are a few things which, which you will, these are the 3 steps which will really help you. I am not diving deep into anything. These are just the basics that will help you get started, so that, if you are interested, we can always come up with part 2 of the talks. So this is one thing. These are the 2 templates which I won't touch right now. I will just show it to you. Design value map, this is really, this is for the people who are at senior positions, UX leads, UX managers, where you can actually have, financial, customer, process, capability, and social aspects related to your vision, strategy, and everything. So, when your management is already into it, this template really helps you. I won't dig deeper into it. I won't dig deeper into the business model canvas as well. This is for validating any new idea. We have a lot of management students here, like I like I saw. So these 2 templates will really help you. I won't dig deep into them. Maybe we can discuss them later, but I will give these templates to you. So we have 3 inspirational leaders if you want to tune in. These 3 inspirational leaders are, first one is Jared Spool. I really love the guy. Why? Because Jared Spool is the maker of awesomeness at the center of a UI message. He is one guy who has more than 180,000 followers on LinkedIn. He creates unique UX strategy playbook for each organization where he works. So he is a really cool person whom you can tune into. I am a part of his community called as Leaders of Awesomeness. You can also be part of that. Paul Bryan, I have not much interacted with him, although I have interacted with Jared. Jared, when I showed this, workshop and the idea behind the workshop to him, he wished me all the luck and, he liked the idea. Paul Bryan, I haven't, interacted with him, but you can tune in to him. This is a COVID era, so you cannot really take out a lot, but Paul is a design conference organization in Asia, Europe and USA, so he organizes a lot of conferences. His LinkedIn profile is called UX Strat, which is UX strategy only. Now our mentor has been Frank Spillers. Frank is a highly experienced UX designer, researcher and UX leader. Any of you who is from Interaction Design Foundation already knows him. Now Frank is coming up with a circle known as Inner Circle. This is the VIP community of leaders. So this will cost you $99 per month, but this will give you a lot of deeper insights, with hot topic discussions, tune-ups, case studies, and digital library, a free digital library for you. So this thing. One thing more, it's very exciting to me and I am looking forward to this, is he is coming up with a new book which is Getting to Peak UX on UX management, which I think which will be very, very, very beneficial to UX managers and UX leaders. So whosoever wants to get more insights or who wants to raise their position can always tune in. So these were the things that I wanted to talk about. Now I will is there any question that you guys have from me? So just drop in. Otherwise, I'll just be talking for 5-10 minutes to our 2 of our panel members that are Strayan and Saha.
So Shubhangi, we have I think just one question here from Dheeraj.
Okay.
He wants to know which one is more important for great product? Is it UI or UX? Oh, okay. Which one is more important for great product? UI or UX?
Okay, so that is a really that is one question, Dheeraj. I would say UX, UI and UX are not segregated. I would say if somebody is working on UI, you cannot separate UX from it. If you are working as a UX designer, you cannot segregate UI from it. These go hand in hand. So, but you should, ultimately it's all about business goals, I would say. When you're talking about UX strategy, and if I am giving this presentation, I would say it's about your business goal. Personally, I prefer on UX more, creating user experience, but ultimately you will create user experience through your UI only. Your UI is the only, interface between your product and everything. User experience is not a thing. It is basically you are creating experiences through your UI. So you need to understand basically what they are. I hope it helps. Is there any other question that?
Yeah, so Akash wants to know what are some good books to read for better UX.
Okay.
Also,
for this, Akash, I would say you should turn into Puneet's LinkedIn account, and he has mentioned 10 of the finest books, I feel, which you can read. I have also not read. I have just, gone through 2 or 3 of the books, including Design of Everyday. So I am not a book reader, I would say, but I am looking forward to Frank's book because it's on UX management and that fascinates me. You can switch into Puneet's LinkedIn and you can see what are the books he has suggested. These are really the fine ones.
Also, Akash, like he's asking also, I'm exploring the intersection of UX and psychology. Are there any resources that might be helpful? So for
Um,
that, Akash, I think you can join IDF. They
yeah.
have many courses available on psychology and intersection of psychology and UX.
Yes.
You'll find a lot of courses there, a lot of free articles to read on IDF.
And they have, they have really course of, psychology of design, brain science for designers. So they have a really cool psychological aspects of UX design courses. You can anytime tune into IDF. Now,
Anybody else wants to ask question from Shubhangi?
you're welcome, Akash.
Yeah, anybody else wants to ask question? Please post it down. So okay, I think Shubhangi, you can.
Okay, so I think I should start with the panel experts so that we get. It will just take 10 minutes. Thank you guys for being with us. It will just take 10 minutes to give you insights and how we have things in happening in mature organizations. So this will be one thing. In expert panel, we have Strayan, who is an ex IBM and UX designer at Cognizant. Hi, Strayan.
Yeah, hi Shubhangi, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Strayan. And we also have Saha, who is ex Caterpillar INC and who is a senior UX designer at Zoho Corporation. Hi, Saha.
Hi everyone.
Hi, how are you? How are you both?
Yeah, doing good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually have these questions in my mind, which people would also like to hear. What are the levels of UX in your organization with respect to UX being part of as a global strategy? By levels, I mean what are the areas in which we see implementation of UX? Shayan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Shubhangi. First of all, that was a very good presentation you gave. Some of them were actually new to me, so thank you for that. Okay, so in our organization at Cognizant, it is at a matured level. But as you know, in service companies, it differs from projects to projects. It's not like that in as a product company where you work in a definite structure, how everybody is in sync within a definite structure. It often differs from a project to project. Whom the people who you are working with, the stakeholders, it varies. So, for example, I am working on currently at an enterprise level for an internal product. So there are problems that often occur, like you said, coordination problems occur, where you actually need to educate your stakeholders what is the importance of UX, because there are timing problems, cost problems, you have commitments to the leadership. So those are the problems that are often faced by companies. So in that case, you need to take the priorities, which are your most priority objectives or features that you need to work on first. How do you approach your users, means your target user, and target user actually varies based on multiple products in a single, means sub products, I mean, in a single product. So in that case, you need to plan accordingly. Like I was quite curious, like Puneet mentioned, how the coordinations problem happens. Okay. So in like we approach is, you should always involve the developers in the work. Like whatever we come on with as a solution, once we have passed the research phase and ideation phase, we immediately involve the developers. Every time for small things we come up with, we involve the developers, take their idea, because ultimately it's a waste of time and resource. Everything everything goes in a wrong.
Capability isn't there. I agree.
Yeah, so you should always be in sync. Coming from a engineering background and being a past developer, I understand that pain point, which often some people do not understand, but they need to educate the management that you need to always involve everyone, like not only developers, you need to involve the product owners or the content UX writers also. Yeah, in our organization we have UX writers, so you need to keep everybody in sync. So whichever or means whichever type of UX management you are in, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, you need to be in sync.
Yeah,
So that's
sure.
what matters.
I agree. Saha, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, actually, your presentation was very informative and it was very good. And already we are running out of time. I don't want to take much time of it. In current scenario, no one could able to avoid UX in any organization, even it may be a very small scale industry, or it may be enterprise, or it may be a giant product company. No one could able to avoid UX. But what the thing usually happen between within the organization is like. There won't be clarity in defining roles. In some organizations, in some product teams, the product PMs, the product management guys, they try to play the role of a UX designer, and they try to come up with some future ideas, and they just want to push as many features into a product. Thinking like too many features will serve the purpose, and it will help them sell the product in a better way.
Exactly.
But actually speaking, it will totally scrap the whole work, and it will make the whole product so clumsy and cluttered, and it spoils the total user experience.
I agree.
There is user experience in any organization, but it's not a defined role. There will be always a conflict between product management guys and UX designers, and that has to be handled in a very polite, settled way.
Yeah,
to be a successful designer.
I felt this, a making of a UX strategy would come into picture, wherein you have a very strategic planning on the coordination and delivery.
Yeah. With my experience, what I would suggest is like to be a successful designer, you need not to you cannot be successful only with the design skills, whether it be a UI skills or UX skills. You need to understand the management, and you need to understand the business, you need to understand the technology part, you need to understand the psychology part. You must have to be a generalist. Basically, you must have to be a generalist. That is how you can able to sell UX in your organization. That is how you can able to sell UX.
That is one valuable information. That is why I said that UX is not, these days it's not about design. It's about understanding your users, your business, your delivery, psychology of your clients and everything. This happens. One more question was, because this is one thing wherein I use templates and something, but I want to know, how do you evaluate risks and assumptions in UX strategy and act upon them? How do you do it?
Yeah, in product companies like Zoho and all, it's not an easy thing to actually. We work with mature products. Every product has age of around 10-15 years. It has millions of users. We couldn't even able to change a button without a proper research and stuff. Even though with the proper research and proper ground data, we couldn't able to change even a single button, because that would be a biggest risk for the product management team. They might have loose users. They might have there might be a drop in the business. But we must have to give a proper justification, very very solid justification to take that risk. Always there are some risks involved in any decision.
I agree. This is one thing. Yeah, I agree.
But we must have to give that product management team, product owner, the gut feel to take that risk. We have tried such things, and one very interesting thing happened in my organization was like one of the most potential product of our organization. We have totally redesigned the whole experience of it.
Okay.
And the product owner was very much bold, and he had a very gut feel to proceed with it, and there was a huge drop in the user base. The number of users went down drastically, but after a saturation point, it keep on increasing. It keep on increasing, and considering the future of the product, it was a very good decision that took at that particular time.
Right. So it's basically, about, I think the risks are related to the management and business knowledge, and I think we should sometimes agree to our gut feeling also. That is what, right?
Yeah, we must have to build trust. Basically everything is built upon trust. If you want to if someone want to take risk with our own decision or suggestion, we must have to build trust, and that trust can be built based off informations and data that we provide. We must have to take some extra steps, like we must have, sometimes we may need to do some market research instead of our own defined task. We may go beyond it. We must have to do some something extremely beyond the business analysis, business part of it. We must have to sell ideas, to sell things. We must have to do some take some extra steps towards it.
Agreed. Market research is one thing to to check on the risks and assumptions. That is one thing. Ryan, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, assumptions. The whole thing starts with assumptions, as you know, in any product. But at every point when you are working on a product, you need to always evaluate with your users, be it via user testing or via peer reviews, anything, whatever time you get, guerrilla testing, sometimes we do. But you need to keep on evaluating. Otherwise, when it comes to the end or after a long time, if it actually fails, there are assumptions, risky assumptions, just kills your product. So you need to keep on evaluating. Whatever time you have to make use of that. It's totally based on what portion you are working on. That portion, is it actually important to the target users? So evaluation is and as Saha said, you have to sometimes go with your gut feeling, and somebody has to support you. Like product owners, sometimes they actually help you go with that gut feeling. That, like, obviously you have to explain them why it will work, and sometimes risks go out good and sometimes it fails. So products mature based on that only. Without risk, there is no success, as you know.
Okay, that was great. These were the 2 points that made me really curious and that I wanted to know. Shlok, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, sure. So hi. So basically, I think the UX maturity is very important. Like when I joined Revigo, right, 4 years back, the company was just started at that point of time. So we took very bad decisions at that point of time, right? We were designing a screens for tier 2, tier 3 users, and we designed the whole screen like LinkedIn. Right? So these kind of mistakes, we did, right? Because we didn't do the user research and those aspects. So I think we should actually focus on user first and understand like what kind of market we are catering to, right? As Shaka and Sufyan mentioned, that we should actually focus on users first, which market we are catering to and what kind of understanding they have, right? And what kind of tech efficiency they are having, right? Because I think there is a huge shift when this 3G, 4G and mobile networks appears. There is a huge shift. There is a kind of users like us who worked on laptop and worked on mobile, right? There are users who actually just jumped on mobile application. They don't have the knowledge of laptop. They don't know how to operate laptops, but he knows how to operate mobile, right? So I think these kind of users are there in the market when we talk about. Right, so I believe we should understand our user target audience, right, and segment, and obviously nurture our UX strategy in our organization also.
Exactly. That is one. So that is what was for this session, guys. I want there's a last one poll. Parul, if you can just drop the poll. If you can, I just want to know how was your experience with this session in 3 words. So if you can write it, I will just share my screen so that you can see the live results. I will just we'll just give 3 minutes. Please do write. I'll be really glad, guys, if you can write 3 words for the session.
Please click on the link in the chat section to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, that was great, interactive and informative. Obviously, we do more sessions. We do sessions each and every month. So you guys should tune into our, Facebook channel and other channels. And yes.
So cool. Somebody wrote it was great in 3 words. Nice. Thank you.
This is the cool thing. I really like this, right? The experience part of it, right?
Yeah.
How people are getting it. I know these things are just
Appearing.
appearing on the screen. I really like this. I will use it in some of my presentations.
Shlok, because I thought this could help us.
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
The live polling and other things. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Thank you so much, guys, for your support. Thank you so much. If I could help you, and if you need anything from me, if you want to know anything or any insight in UX strategy, you can always connect with me later as well. On LinkedIn, I'm highly active on LinkedIn. You can connect me over LinkedIn.
Cool.
We want more answers. We have a lot of people in the room who are just
Guys,
watching. Please, guys, act. You need to really encourage Shubhangi, what she has spoken for like 2 hours,
Yes.
giving her insights. So she needs a feedback, right? There's a link in the chat section if you can see. Click on that to answer, please.
Yeah. There's more.
okay, most of the people found it informative and
Informative.
interesting, and more such sessions. Okay, we'll have more such sessions.
Cool. Yes.
Yes,
So,
we will soon, Juhi, we will soon going to have, probably next, I don't promise, but yes, very soon we are going to have session or building portfolio and tracking up design interviews. So we're definitely going to have another session. Stay tuned on with us for the coming up webinars. There are links in the chat section.
Okay, 25 people. I got the feedback from 26 people now. Okay.
So meanwhile they are giving the session this feedback, I will just give update to you guys. So after the session completes, right, we will do the post processing of the video and we'll post it on our YouTube channel, EXT Talks. So the link is in chat section. You can go there and subscribe for it if you want recap of it, or you can share this video, right, with your friends and other colleagues too, right? So yeah, we will do that post processing video and maybe live premiere by next weekend, right?